Hello, my lovely. We know that we didn't get to where we are by doing things the way everybody else did. We're natural born disruptors. We see life in a different and beautiful and divergent way. And even before we were diagnosed, we knew we were wired differently and that doing things the way the normies do don't fit the way our brain works. I know that my diagnosis personally saved me in a lot of ways. I know for a fact it saved my business. Maybe it saved something for you too. And I know I was diagnosed running this business right now, Carrie Out Loud. And that's why I decided to work with you as my specialty. Women with ADHD who are diagnosed as adults, we have a different way of moving through the world and we need a different type of support. And so, what I know is that you are who I am meant to share my skill set with. You are here to hear stories, whether they're personal or business, that are transparent in a way that you can see yourself, and to hear about behind the scenes and client stories as well, and all of it unscripted. Do I have bullet points? Yes, I do. But it is all unscripted with these topics. And what I know is that entrepreneurship is multifaceted. So when I did a little bit of shifting of the podcast, I realized I need to do this podcast the way our brain works, which is jump around to different topics because that's how we thrive, right? So this week, I'm going to take a look back over this year and the lessons that came with it. So I will be jumping around to different topics and things that I've taken away from this year. And you may relate or hear something that you needed to hear before the new year starts while you are reflecting on your business. So, this week's topics are from one woman in business to another. Turn the volume up to an 11 and get ready to see yourself in these stories. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur. My name is Karrie. I'm your host. I am the chief weirdo of my brand, Karrie Out Loud. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found the podcast. If you love this episode or a different episode and you had a great thing that you took with you, please leave a 5-star review on Apple. Let me know what you loved by leaving a comment. And when you do, it helps other women in business with ADHD find the podcast. Women who were diagnosed later in life, because I'm pretty confident in saying that there is not another podcast out there like this one for specifically women like us. So that kind of leads into my first topic. And that is that finding this is not something I learned in 2024. This is something I've learned over the last 4 years, but every year it just continually gets reinforced. And that is that having the right kind of community in your world changes it in big ways. Knowing who are going to clap for you like a wild woman during your high times or speak your name in rooms where you are not, but they're full of opportunity and they talk about you. Those are your people. They also sit next to you when you're in your valleys and don't try to pull you up off the ground. They sit with you until you're ready to stand. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Personally, and in business. And I'm fortunate enough to have both. I have some in real life, some are my virtual friends. It's a pretty decent sized community. And I got to tell you though, the ADHD community definitely gets split because there are the people who are diagnosed, woe is me, this is the worst thing ever. I hate this. How do I, life sucks. Well, what you focus on will grow. So if you look at ADHD and life like it sucks and like, I don't know, like you have a disability, any of those types of things, I am not of that belief. I believe it's a series of traits. I love the research and perspective of Ned Hallowell, who is a doctor who has researched ADHD for 40 years. He's a Harvard educated psychiatrist and doctor, has ADHD himself, as well as dyslexia. And he's my favorite. Why? Because he takes a positive perspective on ADHD. He looks at it like, how he says we have Ferrari brains with bicycle brakes, which means our brains will just go, 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 go. We have very little way to slow it down. And, he basically says he helps people unwrap their gifts. And I'm laughing. I'm like, yes, exactly, exactly. But while unwrapping your gifts, you also get to learn how to manage the things that are fucking frustrating. And they are manageable. Is it going to be perfect and easy all the time? Nope. I won't lie. I will never tell you that it's easy. But what I will tell you is that it gets to be better and different if that's the perspective you want to take. If you want to take the perspective of it being negative and shitty, that's what you're going to see. Because I've talked about this in the podcast before, but reticular activation system, there is a filter in our brain. This is real fucking science. Go look it up. Our brain will filter out the things that it thinks we don't want to see and filter in the things it thinks we do want to see based on what we think about. So if you look at everything from a negative perspective, you're going to get negative information to confirm that. But on the flip side, if you look glass half full and you look at the assets that ADHD has, even though it has the frustrations, knowing that there are ways to manage it, ways to treat it, getting that diagnosis is life-changing. It's life-altering. And for me, it was life-altering in the best ways. I met some of the most incredible humans in my life that I don't think I would have met had that not happened. And also, I feel like I finally understand certain things about the way my brain works so that it is so much easier to support it in what I'm doing in my business, especially dealing with things like rejection sensitivity, which we have, or being cantankerous and trying to buck against what we're being told to do. We don't like to be told what to do. We also don't like to ask for help. But I jokingly say, don't tell me what to do, but also help me. That's us. That's the epitome of us. We don't want to ask for help or maybe see it as a weakness. But the reality is that even though we have, I call it a turbo brain, he calls it a Ferrari brain with bicycle brakes, there are ways to get bigger brake pads, baby. And so that perspective is really up to you. And so I've not looked at my ADHD ever as a negative thing. I looked at it as finally, oh my gosh. I don't know how many of you listening are gonna relate to this, but it's probably gonna be a big percentage. If I could give this one sentence to sum it up when you get an ADHD diagnosis as an adult, it's now my whole life makes sense. One little sentence. But I have heard that sentence so many times from so many women like us. Having community where women say things like that, where women say, I thought I was weird. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. A lot of women who get diagnosed later in life think they're getting early dementia, early onset Alzheimer's. It's no joke. That is no joke. Getting an ADHD diagnosis saves people's lives because we have traits that come with it that are harmful to our health sometimes. But when we can take these things, the impulsivity, the curiosity, the good in a crisis, just we can take those things, and when we harness them, we can make magic. And so if you are on the side of ADHD where like, it sucks, I hate it, life sucks, everything sucks, I kind of want to give you a hug because that's your ADHD talking, not reality. There's probably so much you could look around and see that's good, but because we've always looked at the world through the lenses we've looked at from our past, that is harder for some than others. And I understand why. I understand it comes with co-conditions that make it more difficult and challenging. I have high levels of anxiety, high, very high. but they're managed. It's manageable. And I'm not saying that to be flippant. I'm saying that because it's real and it really does help and change people's lives. Take business out of it for a second. You know, people with ADHD, untreated, unmanaged, we can live 13 and a half less years. Why? Because of some of the impulsive actions we take that are not good. Drinking, drugs, driving fast and erratically, car accidents. I can't even tell you how many. Like, but when I was at my worst, my ADHD was getting worse and worse and worse because for women, it does. For men, it gets better. For women, it gets worse until we finally go, something's fucking wrong here. And then get challenged until we finally get our diagnosis that we knew something was there all along. But having a community of women who understand all of this and who feel the same way you do is so important. It's important because you've heard the saying where they're like, you're the most like the 5 people you're around. You are mostly a, what's the word I'm looking for? You are a combination in some ways of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Who do you hang out with the most? Are they positive or negative? Do they see everything in a good light or bad? And everything is a big sweeping word. Most of life. There are just things in life that are shitty no matter what. It happens. But for the most part, we have a say. Please don't forget you have a say in how you look at your ADHD and how you walk through your life with it. Period. Okay. Let's jump to the next topic. We're going to talk about Wicked and Elphaba. What? I'm a musical theater nerd. One of my biggest commitments in this next year, even though word of the year is not like my favorite thing, I tend to like a feeling and it's more like a quarter because, why do the things the way everybody else does? But I think that my word, at least for the start of a year, is fully, my feeling is unmasked, right? Is to really allow the rest of the things that, not that I try to hide, but that I just feel like uncomfortable sharing because I'm fearful of judgment. That's gone. We're not doing that anymore. 2025, nope. It's like the rest of the masks are gone. So that leads to the fact that seeing Wicked, I don't know if you've made this analogy or not, but we are Elphaba, right? I mean, we said, oh, I have this diagnosis. Now my whole life makes sense. Well, think about this line. Did that really just happen? Have I actually understood this weird quirk I've tried to suppress or hide as a talent? That could help me meet the wizard. Okay, but you understand, right? I saw this musical when it came out, a few years probably after it came out, because it came to Broadway first. And then, of course, it would come to LA. So I did see it. And I remember feeling such a visceral reaction, goosebumps, crying. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I mean, I get really emotional at musicals anyway, almost like in an inappropriate way. Crying at times that don't warrant crying, but I just think it's because the art is so beautiful and what they're doing is such. I love doing musical theater. I've done it several times. I've done a few musicals. So I love watching it because I know what they're going through. And I think that because I think of the back end and I think of what that all is like too, it just affects me deeper. But I've talked about this probably a year and a half ago. I did a reel on how we as ADHD women are Elphaba. We've gone our whole lives thinking we're green and that green was a bad thing. And then we suddenly get told that we have ADHD. And all of a sudden we realize we have these talents. We have these special skills, ways of doing things that are not like everybody else. And that's not a bad thing. When somebody tells you too much or too loud or too this or too that, that's a problem with them. Keep being who you are. You are resilient. You are strong. If you weren't resilient, you would not be this far in your life. You have made it through 100% of your hardest fucking days and still come out swinging. Still decided to take a electrical impulse in your brain, pull it out and go, this one, I'll make a business of it. Right? And you started it. You had the gall, you had the balls, you had the nerve, you had the audacity. You had the audacity to want to do things differently and create your own thing. Fucking good for you. Good for us. We're designed for this. We're made for it. Are there pitfalls? Yep. That's what I help with. I've been in the pitfalls. I've got 25 years of experience where I've been in undiagnosed, running my business, untreated, and this unique perspective with the unique perspective of running my business now with ADHD management and treatment. Treatment is different for everybody. Treatment is an all-encompassing word. I choose to take medication. I choose to manage it. I choose to exercise and move my body in the beginning of the day. There are things that I just choose to do to help me manage the ADHD. There's different ways. But I hope that you see yourself that way, that you may see yourself in Elphaba and how she turns around from feeling like she just needs to shrink behind, anything until she comes out and puts that hat on, and everyone deserves a chance to fly. And I know it is cheesy to use that line. I know, but it's true. You deserve that chance just as much as anybody else. And I deserve that chance just as much as anybody else. And nothing like this is going to hold us back. We're not good at taking the word no. That's an asset in your business, by the way. And I don't mean other people telling you no. I mean like something not working and you're like, no, I'm going to keep going until I figure this out. And so I personally figured out that I'm stronger and more resilient than I realized because I've done things this year that were totally new. Some of them failed fucking miserably. Some of them didn't. And I am taking lessons from those and learning how to refine things even better. I took a course in marketing and ChatGPT together, which I jokingly call my PhD in marketing and ChatGPT, because it just changed how I see the way I talk with you and how to help you so much better. And that's what I think is my strength, is continuing to learn, continuing to. You remember those Weeble Wobbles, or like that punching balloon? I hate to use this. The punching balloon with the clown where like you push it down, but bloop, it just stands right back up. That's resilience. That's us. Resilient as fuck. Because we didn't get to where we are now by just shriveling up and not doing anything. We just kept going and figured things out. And that's what we're doing. And that's what your business is continuing to figure out the next steps, the next level, what's coming for you, what to prepare for, how to simplify your business, how to put systems in that work for your brain, how to do all of these things that support the way that your brain works so that it almost feels like ADHD isn't an issue, right? So please look in the mirror and see your beautiful green skin and understand that you can fly and do whatever the fuck you want. And as cheesy as this analogy is, I don't care, because think about it. Just think about it. If you haven't seen the movie, see it. It's totally worth it. It's just as good as the musical. I was very excited because they fucked up my favorite musical by making it into a movie, and they it was just bad, and I was so upset. So I was like, please let this be good. And it was. All right, let's flip. Next topic. What we do is helping others and supporting them, either as a business mentor, coach, business manager, somebody who has online business services. We're here to support. But the one thing that I don't love in our industry is how it's like, oh, it's all them. They did it all. Yes, they did. They did it all. They have the client. They have to do the work. They have to take the steps. They have to want it more than I do, right? But it is also very, very important for us to really embrace and own the impact of what you do, that it's very real, to own the impact of your skill set and what you help facilitate for others. Well, what do you do the best? Because instead of doing 5 million things in your business, explore all of those things in the beginning. Figure out what you're good at and then really hone in on those. For me, it's helping women diagnosed later in life with putting together systems that work with their brain and that do work for them in their sleep with automation, is working on mindset and self-esteem, because as ADHD women who are diagnosed as adults, our self-esteem can be really in the shitter after years and years of negative messages from people. And so helping women with mindset around their business, because the things that come up are fear of failure and fear of success, which I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's true. Imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome comes up in us because we think we have to work 10 times harder than everybody else to be successful and make something happen. So that's our lot in life. Everything we have to do is got to be 10 times harder or we're an imposter. I'm calling bullshit on that. It's not true. You don't have to work 10 times harder. You have to work differently. And when you work differently, it's not going to feel as arduous when you work with your brain. So I think the thing that I reflected on with this for 2024 is how I was able to really figure out my best skill sets. The last one is helping women unmask and really just be themselves fully, figure out who that is, take out all the voices and the things that we hear in our heads from our past and filter through them, figure out which really belongs to you and which doesn't. Because some of those beliefs and some of those limitations that you have on yourself are other people's shit in your brain. And we got to dig that shit out by the roots and, extract it, get it gone. And I help women to do that. Is it going to be gone 100%? No, we're human. We're living the human experience. We're going to have feelings and different things, but some of the elevated issues that we tend to have, especially as business owners, that's what I help with. And so really understanding those 3 different things that I am the best at has helped me speak more directly to the women who need what I have to do and help me find them. What would this takeaway be for you? Are you trying to do it all? Are you the chief of everything in your business and you're trying to do it all? Or are you doing the things that you are the best at? Creating programs around that, creating masterminds around that, creating mini masterminds around that. Are you leaning into those skill sets or are you trying to do it all? Because just because you can doesn't mean you have to, right? If there are things you are just smoking at, lean in. Lean in. And that would be the thing I would say to that is another takeaway for me, is to really hone in even more on the people that I want to work with and helping them with these specific things, as opposed to just being a broad business mentor. Am I? Yep. I can do a lot of things. I can do marketing. I can do messaging. I can do taking a look at people's businesses and seeing where the disconnect is. See where your time and your energy may be, you know, leaking. See if your energy as an ADHD human, the ebbs and the flows, are you able to work within those ebbs and flows in your business, because they're going to come and they're going to happen, and we need to have a plan for that, right? So that is just something that I want you to think about, where a lot of people hate the word niche, whatever. Um, Knowing who you're talking to actually widens the net, as opposed to what you may think is that it may shrink it. That's not true. Um, you're going to find more of your people that way, and you're going to be able to help them in your special, particular way. It doesn't have to be, I help them with every single solitary thing. Think about what you're good at. What do you want to specialize in within your industry? What makes you stand out? That's why I created my own niche, because I knew it was needed. I don't want to wait for somebody else to do it. I'm going to do it. So think about that. And also, please own your impact. Own the impact that you make. Don't pretend that you don't, because it's bullshit. Own it. Doesn't mean go around saying that your shit doesn't stink. I'm just saying to own it. And yes, you are a facilitator, but without that facilitation, it might take your people longer to get there, or have to go in a route that is much more frustrating for them. Just keep that in mind. And the final thing that I want to talk to you about, and the final lesson that I'm really taking away from this year, is that no goal I have or risk I take is delusional. And it doesn't matter if I'm the only one who believes in it first. I'm carving a specialty out of my niche, however you want to say it. That's terrifying. It's terrifying, because first I have to make people aware that I exist. Because the thing I hear most often is, I didn't even know this was a thing. Well, baby, it's not. It is now. I'm starting it, right? So what I know is they'll call you crazy until they call you to ask you how you did it. And so that's why my goal and the risks I'm taking in my business to specialize even more is, I think, actually, I know what is going to make my business grow even more in 2025. What goals or risks do you have that other people think are crazy, wild, out there, delusional, delulu, whatever you want to call it? There are always going to be people who don't get it. If you've always worked a 9 to 5, you will never understand and you want to, and you love that, and that works for you. You know, not you as in the listener, but you as in you as a population. Not everybody can take the risk. They can't assume the risk, but we are really good at that. That's an asset. So please remember that if you're doing something new or unique or different within your specialty or within your industry, remember, write this down. They will call you crazy until they call you to ask you how you did it. Think of all of the companies that have started. They started with one person or with an idea. I was given an example of Mars, the food company. That company is owned by the family still. It was one person's dream. I think it's 100-year-old company. One person thought of that, acted on it. So many business names that you know now and love started as something different. They had to find the thing. And then once they found the thing, they put their foot down and put the pedal to the metal. and didn't give up. That is one of the biggest differences between people who succeed in their businesses and people who don't, is they put their business as a priority. It is their work. It is their job, and they see it as such and take it seriously. And they don't give up on that dream or that goal. I know people who've had goals in their business and they've decided to go back to doing certain work part-time because of a more challenging time in the beginning of their business. And I let them know, this is just funding your dream here. Like, don't see your job as a permanent thing. This is a way to fund your dream. So if you are bringing in that extra income and because of that security or safety, just be sure to reframe that. Because if you really have this dream and this goal, go for it. And I have this, I don't know if I don't like the word premonition, but this just very distinct feeling that 2025 is going to be a huge year for our business and for business, for small businesses specifically. And I think that, well, I hope that you really go for it, whatever it is for you. For me, it's simplifying things even more, having certain systems, additional systems in place that do a little bit more for me. My goal is to outsource the podcast. I love recording it. I love creating it. I love editing it. I love doing all of it because I do all of it now. I am literally recording this on Tuesday. You're hearing it on Wednesday. That's how it goes because I'm like an in the moment person. Handing over the podcast freaks me out because I'm like, I can't get this recorded by Friday. That's just bullshit that I'm telling myself, right? I love to be in the moment, right? Or what's happening right now. But I also know that my time is best spent with my clients. So this is something I'm looking to outsource this year as well. So what is it that you are risking? What is it that you think people feel is delusional? And what are some things that you are going to do? Because what got you here won't get you to the next place. You're going to continue to do different things to grow. So what do you think those things are going to look like for you in 2025? For a recap, myself, it's going to be unmasked, unhinged, just kidding, unmasked and unhinged, of course, unedited, unfiltered, not overthinking certain parts of my business, making my systems work even more for me than they already do, and really just growing my impact because of the ripple effect. And if you're a coach, you're a mentor, a service provider, I want you to really, really realize that what you're doing has a ripple effect. What you're teaching somebody is something they'll teach to somebody, is someone like you could impact hundreds, thousands, millions of people. And I'm not saying that anecdotally. Like, I'll give you one of my favorite examples that I heard recently. Mel Robbins, I love the woman. She's brilliant. She used to be broke as a joke, attorney, hated her fucking job. Now she's a public speaker. I think she gets like 75K per gig. That's a rumor. Who knows how much she actually gets, but that's what I heard. And she's about to meet Oprah. She wasn't anybody else but Mel Robbins. She's had a shit show, right? So if you think your dreams aren't big enough, turn it up. What else are you not letting yourself allow to be a possibility for you? What are you cutting off? What belief is stopping you? The first thing that just came to your head, work on that in 2025 as well. That's everything for this week. Thank you so much for being here. With that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you love this episode, please subscribe to the podcast. Give it that 5-star review. Tell a friend, drop it in their DMs, put it in your stories and tag me so I can thank you. Tell me what you got out of the episode. I'm a connection queen. Community is everything. I definitely would love to know if there's any topic you need covered. I'm always here for that. And your feedback's always welcome here. So until next time, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you always. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.